let them hoes sleep. Body on 10, make your girl OD. I get in my way, never out of my lane. Feel like you the one and I'm on one. So what it's gonna be? Baby, squad up, we finna go deep. Riding on a team, got what you need. Baby, won't you keep me company? Give me something to do when I get lonely. I got something for you when we get home. If you let me put it down, when I hit the town, you should ride on me. Keep your minds on me. On try, baby, I think you should side with me. Stay solid one time if you lie with me. Just promise you never lie to me. Keep the moves on tuck. I know it's all up. Everything good. Keep the vibes on crush. I know it's all good. Know it's all love. Know it's all love. I've been feeling like I'm feeling like the man lately. Can't nobody do it like I can daily. Baddest in the lattice in the land. Body turn your nigga to a fanny up. I made it where I'm at on my own. Had a couple blocks in the road, but I get to the bag on the low. I be counting stacks while they grow, yeah, you know me. Baby, won't you keep me company? Give me something to do when I get lonely. I got something for you when we get home. If you let me put it down, when I come in town, you should ride on me. Keep your minds on me. On try, baby, I think you should side with me.
Yo, yo, yo. What's good? How y'all be?
Hey.
Okay. I see a new face in the building. Good evening. How's everybody doing? Shout out to everybody in the chat so far. You are here at Black Man Unfiltered Network, where this is Talk That Talk, Let the Ladies Speak Tuesday. So the ladies will speak tonight. And what are we talking about? Something about modern versus traditional. I had the topic up somewhere.
Modern women frowned, or traditional women being frowned upon.
Yes. So why are traditional women being frowned upon by modern women? Where's the disconnect? Real quick, shout out to Lady Navoa, Jenny O in the chat. Welcome. Come on in the building while we are waiting for everyone to come in the room. Let's take a roundabout and see how y'all feeling this evening. Coach K, how's your day going? How's your week going?
It's going good. Long. I'm helping family friend with the puppies are a week old, so it's like been crazy. I've never had an experience like this. I don't know if anyone else has, like, helping
y'all take care of puppies.
Yeah, like they're what'd you say?
Like day old puppies?
They're about a week. They're mini Shih Tzus, and you have to keep it really hot, and they're just so tiny. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can only imagine what motherhood is like. So I'm tired. But good.
I feel that. Welcome, ladies. Shu, how you doing? How you doing?
I'm good. You know, I can't complain. You know what I mean? I'm blessed. Can't complain over here. That's all I can say.
That's it. I feel that. I am the single one. Welcome. Good evening. How are you today, hon?
Oh my God. Can I just say I'm so happy to be up here with all of you ladies. I'm so excited.
So we are delighted to have you here. We're going to have a good night. We ain't going to make this a long night. It's going to be feisty, fun, and entertaining, hopefully, and we're going to get up out of here. I cannot pronounce your name, and I'm not going to jack it up, but go ahead and tell me your name first off. Pronounce that for me, and then, tell me how you doing.
My name is Hanifa.
Hanifa?
You can say... Yeah, you can call me Hanifa. You don't have to say
Hanifa.
Yeah, it's Hanifa Nayela, but you can call me Hanifa. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here and have the conversation with you ladies. Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for coming. The Blooming Ebony. How are you, love?
I'm doing awesome. It's really nice to be back at the BMU. Thanks for having me tonight. I hope everyone's doing well.
Glad to see that bright and shining faces. Beautiful animated. What's going on? You look. What's good, lady? How you feeling this evening?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, I finally found something that works on my back, so I'm good.
Perfect.
And Coach K, I've dealt with like small kittens, like because they were too small to no. My sister found them underneath her lawnmower.
Oh, was the mom with them or no? Anywhere to be?
Nah.
Oh, so you had a bottle feed then? Like crazy,
Girl,
yeah.
yes.
They're trying to have that not
But
happen.
they were really close to soft food because we took them and paid out of pocket to get them checked by the vet, and they're like, hey, just like give them soft food, put the milk, like mash it up with the milk and stuff like that, make it really really soft. And you know, that's what I dealt with. I'd rather deal with the baby puppies than baby kittens because them claws are like glass. Like, when they climbing up you.
Yeah, they are, but it's a sauna in there. I love cats. Oh my god.
There's 5 of them.
I'm gonna pass on all that. My kitten days over with, my baby days over. I don't want none of it. Don't bring me nothing crying. Now let me stop.
Well, we had to because like you know that show, was it Animal Cops or what's that shelter, that the main shelter that has different
SPCA.
Yeah. So you know how on the show it shows people calling and getting the animals picked up and stuff.
Yeah.
Girl, they cost money. They will charge you $50.
Oh yeah, that is tough.
Be careful. Lead them. Look, lead them animals where y'all find them in some cases.
And then another one.
Shout out to the chat.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Accountability partner. Don't you be talking about my sorors. Yes, I am a member of 35 Baby Serenity Care. Don't you be talking about my sorors. Okay.
But we had to raise them up because a lot of places were kill zones. Like they were too young, so they were going to kill them. And that was the SPCA who said that. I'm like, y'all be on TV.
T-Sean, where you at? T-Sean in the chat, you supposed to be on the panel with us.
Right.
Come on up here. Somebody get T-Sean in the room. We need her. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to T-Sean. We hope that you join us tonight. I would love to see you on the panel. I would love to hear your perspective on this conversation. We were having this conversation just a little bit in the chat last week when the fellas were speaking on Barbershop. So we thought it would be a good conversation to have to kind of see where the disconnect is with the women. And so basically, why is it that traditional women are frowned upon by modern women and vice versa? Because it happens both ways. You'll see some traditional women, and we'll kind of define that in just a bit, just to give a quick synopsis of what it is. I'll ask you ladies what y'all think the difference of the two is. But real quick, shout out to the chat.
I'm a snack next time I see you. Okay, I'm a snack.
Okay. So welcome Mandrell to the chat. Glad to see you in the building. What We Know podcast. Shush, you gonna hit that laugh. You know it. The laugh is coming. You best believe it. Accountability partner. What's going on? You see all this glory and these beautiful faces up here coming for us. So welcome to the channel. Welcome to the chat. Please enjoy and play with us a little bit. Jenny O, as always, blessings to you. Such a beautiful moderator. Drina Haven, Drina Haven, 916. Greetings to you. Hello, lost in translation. Yo, what up though? All right. Miss AKA Lady. Hey, welcome to the chat. That's a new name. Black man. What up though? What's up, bruh? Okay, Black David. Nice to see you in the chat. CBN Tech Talks. Good evening to you, sir. Yeah. All right. Before we jump in, we just got a $5 super chat. Nothing but lovely. Nothing but love, my white dove sister. I'm checking y'all out and listening in. And all in the back of my head is that Prince, when doves cry. Why you have to say my white dove?
I remember that conversation. I don't want that again.
So yeah. So welcome everybody. So thank you. Support the channel. Hit us up. Black Man Unfiltered Network or Black Man Unfiltered is the Cash App. You can also send your super chats, your super stickers, you name it, you do it. Have your way. Support the platform. Support these beautiful conversations we have, especially on Tuesdays. Let us know how you like. Join the chat. Chat all you want. Talk to us. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll definitely share them on the screen. So what's the biz? What's the disconnect? Pretty much. Why is it that traditional women are being frowned upon by modern women? But what I want to know, basically, before we jump too far in, who are you on this panel? Who are you? Are you a modern woman? Are you a traditional woman? Tell me. I'll let whoever want to go first. We'll take this conversation around the room. I would say for myself, I'm a little bit of both. I'm a good blend. I consider myself a Southern Belle, and just part of my Southern heritage in South Louisiana. And I'm not from South Louisiana, I'm from Northeast Louisiana, but Louisiana is in the South, because I don't want nobody to get it twisted. I'm not from New Orleans or Baton Rouge. I ain't one of them people that fake the funk. Okay. I'm from Northeast Louisiana, and they'll swear that I'm from Arkansas. I'm so far north. So, but that's part of the heritage from being in the South. You know, we're true Southerners. We love our families. We do for our families. So the cooking and the cleaning and all those things, not so much as we have roles, but it's almost like a way that we show love to one another. I had a close friend of mine. We were visiting for Thanksgiving just this past, holiday. And I walked into my brother's house. And immediately, my brother had not long got off work. He greeted us. We said, hey, and we started sitting down to kind of fellowship. And I'm like, hey, y'all hungry? You want something to eat? And I go immediately in my brother's kitchen. I fix my brother plates. I fix all our plates. And my brother just went in and sat down. They like, dang, your brother just come in and sit down like that. Like he knew you was going to fix his plates. But that's how we show love. And so even if he were to come to my house and he see me busy tied up, he'll do the same thing. So it's like, yeah, it's part of me to be that nurturer, that that woman that cooks and cleans and cater to the men in my family, and not just the men in my family, but my man specifically. But then I also am a go-getter. I want to work outside the home. I want to have a successful career, and I want to get to a certain level. And I got goals that I have for myself. So I think I'm a little bit of both. But some people say you can't do both. But that'll be an argument we'll have for a later time. So. Anybody jump in?
Yeah.
What are you?
People are kind of weird to me. Like I was at my aunt's house. I was fixing my cousin's plate because I happened to be in the area. He walked over there. I grabbed his plate from him and stuff like that. And they were like, "Oh, is that his girlfriend?" I'm just like, we both like, why gotta be all that?
I had to pop my neck on that one.
Yeah, all right. Why gotta be all that? Like. It's just I'm a bit of both, and I say part of the problem is judgment. People are so quick to judge things based on what they see instead of having a conversation and asking questions. Don't assume stuff, just ask the question if you're curious. You know what I'm saying? But that question was the weird one. Is that your girlfriend?
You're right. Well, I would say as far as like whether if I'm modern or traditional, I would say I'm a little bit of both. I still do believe in some traditional values, but at the same time, I'm still a modern woman. I mean, I'm career driven. I do believe that women can, and nowadays you don't have to work outside the home. But so, but at the same time, in my relationship and stuff like that, I am very affectionate. I like acts of service is kind of like one of my love languages. So I don't know. I think it's perspective. A lot of it is perspective. A lot of the traditional things that traditional women used to do are looked at more as servitude. Like, but servitude is in the form of slavery, like in a negative way, as opposed to showing love. You know what I mean? Like if I fix my man's plate, it's not because I feel like that's I'm supposed to do it. It's like oh, that's my duty. It's because like I'm showing him love. Like to me, like things like that. You know, if I give him a massage or like I rub his feet or something like that, or I say, oh hey baby, I give him like compliments and stuff like that. Because I believe it or not, guys like to hear that too. You know, it's to me, I feel like it's more of, or I do it as more of showing love than anything. So yeah.
Anybody else?
Y'all jump on in.
I feel like all women kind of fall somewhere on the spectrum, like somewhere toward the middle, are, you know, a mix of both. Hi, Mr. Shusa. Are a mix of both, you know, to different degrees and probably in different areas. But we were speaking about this earlier. You know, women are so complex that I think very few of us fall all the way to either side. And I'm not sure how we're defining modern women or traditional women. I think because of my lifestyle, I'm probably considered a modern woman. So I'll go ahead and own that today. But I feel like women are timeless and you know, we transcend a lot. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But I'll represent the modern side today.
Okay. All right. The Blooming Ebony.
Yeah, I think I'm mostly traditional. Like I don't really care about having a career. But I do think that there are lots of advantages on the modern side that I like to, you know, pull over to the traditional side every once in a while. Like I think it's important for women to make their own money. I think that it's great to be able to have the option to know what you really want to do versus being forced one way or the other. I think there's something very powerful about choosing to be a stay-at-home wife and choosing to be a stay-at-home mom today without, you know, necessarily being forced to do it. But also, I do like the idea of serving my household. That's kind of like Ray and Shushu kind of, I don't disagree with what you said, but I think like the farther traditional side, because I do see it as like service, but I do think that service is a way of showing love. And so, yeah, I see it no differently as like serving the community and serving my household, serving my future husband and all of that good stuff. So I think I'm probably more on the traditional side, but there's some perks to the modern world as well.
Okay.
But
yeah, I think I agree. So, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think I agree with the Bloom and Ebony. I feel like I really don't know where I fall because I don't really use the terms traditional and modern. And to be honest with you, I'm not clear and which is which because I feel like yeah, I feel like most if I was to guess, I would say most women are sort of like a combination of two, of the both of them. But I agree with the Bloom and Ebony around like having the space to be able to choose which one versus being forced into one or the other. I like that. I agree with that 100%. For me, I'm just a wife and a mother, and I'm a woman, and all that entails. I mean, we're very complex beings as women. So yeah, I don't know what I would label myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say I'm somewhat in the middle, but I lean more towards traditional, especially like in the conservative sense. I mean, that took some awareness too, because I was being, I guess, very modern, or at least how I would define it. But at the same time, you know, I work. I'm not a stay-at-home wife or anything like that, but definitely value the family and my faith, and I'm totally fine with serving my husband. I want him to make decisions, to be quite honest. So yeah, kind of in the middle, more towards traditional. So
Yeah, so I wanted to know everybody's stance before we got into the definition.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to see where you felt you were, because I'm like, Hanifa, is that how you say it? Okay, perfect. I don't want to jack it up because it's been a long day. I just got off work not long ago. I ain't had no wine. Okay. I'm over here. I'm running off water. Okay. Got no. So so but it's I wanted to hear what you all thought because like you, this was a new conversation for me, joining YouTube and hearing people talk about traditional and modern and the whole conversation about women ought to be submissive. I'm like, that's a conversation that needs to be had. Okay, all of this stuff was new to me. Not saying that it was new in regards to something I've ever done or I've never heard, but the fact that it was so pertinent in these conversations, I'm like, what? Like, what's the difference? And so I did a little digging to get a definition, so to speak, of what a traditional woman is versus a modern woman. And so for a traditional woman, it reads in the text of dating, relationships, marriage, traditional minded women team, tend to see family and marriage as a goal that inspires them in life. Traditional women strive to have the nuclear family, a husband, children, uphold values that some people would see as old fashioned today. Traditional women also generally tend to come from religious backgrounds. So these religious backgrounds have etched in their ideas about what a woman should be, what they should value, the choices they should make for their future, and things like that. Traditionally minded women tend to have more conservative views too, because their conservative views are aligned with, of course, that center of the family and how they feel, about life. Modern women, on the other hand, they're described to be the total opposite. They may tend to idealize equality in relationships. A modern woman might prefer to lead in a relationship, and they may rather focus on their career and education before marriage and children. Some modern women, having family and children is an option for them, and so they can take it or leave it. They don't necessarily have to have it in order to make them happy. They also tend to be a lot more liberal in their views. They can still be somewhat religious, but their views on marriage, relationships, and the world aren't dictated by those religious ideas. And of course, and so what I've heard in the YouTube space, because they think this way, modern women will end up sad and go on to the afterlife alone.
AKA bye dog and now.
So there you have it. So that's the difference. And so in hearing that, yeah, just miserable lives. And so
oh my God.
The end was a dead giveaway as to who wrote it.
So I'm not calling no names, but it was an opposite sex person wrote this article, So
when you was reading, I wrote down, I feel like most women fall under the traditional. Um, Honestly, I think there's a sector of women who would fall mainly under modern, but for the most part, generally, as you were reading, I'm like, I think that's majority of women, though. Even working women feel committed to their families. They prioritize their families even though they're working. So I don't know, as thank you for giving the definitions, but I was like, I feel like that's most women, but I could be wrong.
I think it's also situational. If a woman is single, she's naturally going to be modern. She's going to be providing for herself. She's going to be working. She's going to be building, educating herself. And so the context of a relationship provides an opportunity for her to, be traditional, but like, who is she, nurturing in her singledom? So I think it's also, once partnership is there, then she has, the chance to operate in that way.
Right.
I think
I
part
like
of
that.
the problem is like, and I honestly hadn't heard this until I came into the YouTube space either. The idea of modern versus traditional is you have to have one or the other. You have to do one or the other. You can't have both. You can't be a traditional woman and be a career woman and have children and be a good mother and nurture your family and all of the stuff. I think that's where part of the argument comes in. And there are a sector of women, and it's sad that nowadays, like, people don't aspire to get married anymore. So I would say that you do have a lot of women and men who just don't believe or see the value in a marriage.
Right.
So I think that's really what the crux of the conversation really should be, because as far as up here, I think we do have a good mix of women. But at the same time, I mean, if we were going by YouTube standards, and unless you marry, I think Hanifa, you're married. Hanifa is really the only traditional woman up here, because she's the only one married.
Now,
I'm legally
Right,
married,
you
but-
almost.
Coach K's traditional too.
Traditional.
Yeah, kind of
But
not.
like,
I did it out of order, but yeah.
And that's but it's really a technically, well, from my mother, my grandmother, my aunts, all of them were working women, but they were all married also. So the idea that you can't have both and still you can't be a working woman and serve your family and be considered traditional is a lie.
Yeah.
Because I've seen far too many women do it.
Here's the crazy thing, Shushu. People always try to say traditional women, and in the old days or in the past, Medea, Big Mama, whoever, they stayed at home, and traditionally they stayed at home, they raised the kids, they nurtured all of that. But guess what those women also did? They planted, they grew, they had chickens, they baked, they sewed, they did all of that, and it was for a service. So guess what that was?
Yeah.
Ultimately work. Okay?
Yeah.
That's employment. Go ahead, Blooming
But
Ebony.
no, what you should.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna come back to you, beautifully animated. Blooming Ebony had something. I'm gonna come back to you.
I think it all falls under priorities. So it's would you give up having a family? Would you look past getting a husband and having children so you can pursue your career? Like I think I was raised traditionally. Like I knew, like I changed my entire career path so I could get married one day. I was like, I'm not going to be a doctor. I don't want to be in school for the next 12 years. I'm going to become an accountant, graduate in 4 years, and get married, right? And that was my choice. I was like, I don't need the money. I don't need the title. I want to be a wife. I want to be a mother. And I want to start as soon as I possibly can. I think that's the difference. It's not about can you do both? It's understanding, number one, what's your priority? Do you prioritize your family and your children over your job, right? Would you quit that job so you can be home with your children? And then number two, are you willing to sacrifice for your family above everything else? And I think that's something that a lot of modern women today don't do. Like I actually had a friend recently, I've been more open about wanting to be a homemaker. And she actually told me that the reason why I'm being encouraged to be a homemaker is so my spouse so he can isolate me financially so he can abuse me. That was how she saw me wanting to be a homemaker. Ridiculous. Yeah. And it's, what'd you say?
That's intellectually lazy.
What did you say your friend said to you?
She told me the reason why I'm being encouraged to be a homemaker is because my future spouse may want to trap me, isolate me financially, so he can abuse me.
Oh,
that's not uncommon. I've heard people say things like that. That's not uncommon.
Yeah.
Go ahead, beautifully animated. You had something earlier? And I got a question for you, Blooming Ebony, later.
I was just going to say, okay. I was just going to say that what Shushu said earlier goes into what I was saying about people judging. You know what I'm saying? And trying to push onto others their thoughts and beliefs instead of having a conversation, asking questions and having conversations and stuff like that. They automatically think that you're going to be ran over. And if you're single and a certain age, you're hitting the wall. By YouTube standards, I've hit the wall, y'all. Well, if I hit the wall, y'all, I look down. This wall looks good over here.
Just terrible.
Oh, Lord.
Just terrible. So
Can I go after you, Queen Smiley?
Oh, go ahead. You good?
No,
You good?
you have a
I
question.
can't even remember what I was about to say. Oh, I
You
had a
asked
question
her
for
a
the Blooming
question.
Ebony. She was saying that she changed her lifestyle, and I guess it's a conversation for later. But she was saying she changed her lifestyle in an effort to be married. So not so much as change her lifestyle, she changed her career. Let me fix it. So she changed her career path so that she can plan to be married. And I just wanted to know, how was that working out? Just a
Pretty
random
good.
question. You ain't gotta.
Pretty good. So I'll give some background. So I was raised to like be a doctor. So from the age of 5, my parents told me I was going to be a doctor. By 12, I knew what type of doctor I was going to be, an orthopedic surgeon, and I was on that path for the next 7 or so years. And then I realized that that was going to be a long time in school. So I switched over to accounting, and now I'm engaged. I graduated. I'm a tax preparer, and yeah. So
Congrats.
Shout out to the accountings of the world. That's one of the fields that's so hard. I'm an accounting major. Hey.
It's so hard.
Well, small business owners, I thank you. Because I need you. What's interesting, I think, is I think it's just sometimes that judgment comes from a little bit of insecurity. But it's also like not a problem. It's like, okay, if it's like maybe they think there's something in them, and this goes for both modern and traditional women, whoever's like kind of throwing shade, that maybe there's a little bit of them that wants that, but they're denying it, and then they're overcompensating by like kind of talking down on it. It's like, it's okay if you want a little bit of it, or maybe you have some beliefs that you think you can't have it, or that you can't, I don't know, whatever. But the biggest thing that I really wanted to say was, I think it is silly when men, especially here on YouTube, will say, oh, if you're working, then you're not traditional. Right. I still think there's a difference between how we use the word working, because let's be honest, very few people can afford to have a sole provider and that's it. Like, let's look at the statistics, but it's like work versus a career. And I think that's where the modern woman kind of comes in. It's like, she's focused solely on her career, not even a second thinking about if she wants to be married or whatever. And I think that is something that separates the two is, and like Shushu said, no one really values marriage, but also too, no one's really intentional about it either. And that's kind of how like people are having kids, but they don't talk about wanting to have kids or wanting to be a mother and what that entails. Because just looking at research and the psychology, I'm like, wow, oh my gosh, like there's a lot that goes into, raising a child, especially a newborn. Gosh, that's been a common theme that I talk about, the little babies. But it's like, but it's like, that's the grave difference. And I think that later on, maybe for some, but they're going to realize that maybe they're not as fulfilled. I don't know. That's not for me to say, because one may be fulfilled by something else. I don't think one way is right. But for me, I think less about the material things are what's ultimately going to be fulfilling, especially just as humans and connection and things like that. So that's all I got for now.
Bring that comment back I was reading. I'm sorry, I can't look at 2 screens at the same time. I ain't at work. I can only look at one. So I'm saying I get limited after hours. When I start working, I lose all hopes of professionalism.
Right.
I get real simple-minded, So I can't see, I don't think hitting a wall is a judgment on anyone. It's simply pointing out that the competition for men, if that's what a woman desires, is truly fierce, and those women are behind I'm guessing it's behind the power curve or something, maybe like that. I think I see what you. Oh, younger models. Wow. It's the way of saying Stella got a groove back. Okay. Hey.
Well, here's the thing now too. It's harder to get like younger girls now, because see, younger girls, they're looking for something different than like girls back in the day did.
Which is the ironic part. Like, most of them going through college are straight up like 4th wave feminists. So it's like, that's kind of funny, but yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know how fierce the competition is. If you really want to be real,
my problem with the whole hitting the wall thing, it's not for you to say. You know what I'm saying? It's not for you to say. Whatever happens with me happens with me.
It's like opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one.
Y'all don't know who's interested in me and who's not.
You know.
Tell them.
What you say? Say that again.
I said, tell them.
Yeah.
And you know, the competition thing, I think. Yes. But the competition thing, I think what happens in these spaces is that people hold up one above the other, and one is the desirable, you know, kind of woman that every single woman should aspire to no matter what. And so I think that creates and I have to keep it real. I have to throw this out there, okay? The men, I believe, contribute to this divide as they're discussing, you know, traditional women versus modern women. And it makes it to where, you know, one has a positive connotation, the other has a negative. And so some women are, you know, having to define in a way that might not feel 100% authentic for them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think the wall thing is, I think it's just, I don't know, maybe just, I don't know what you would call that. It's just a figure of speech
A
or
metaphor,
something.
maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there is a biological
clock.
You know, yes, that,
Oh, yeah.
and I think with two parties involved, we can't say that like, well, you know, I get to do whatever I want, and there aren't going to be there's another party involved if you do want kids, you know, down the road. Not only, well, there's two parties involved, there's nature and God. Basically, you can't have kids at a certain time, but also that man, and it's like we kind of have to recognize what that man is going to want, because if he doesn't want whatever it is, then we're not having kids, you know? So it's like, I think it's important for young women to know that. That's something that really, I loved Kevin Samuels. Sorry about it if anyone does it, but that is something that really opened my eyes when I first started listening to him. Was like, oh shoot, I need to get it together. Like if I want to have kids, I wasn't prioritizing it. Like that's very important word. Blooming Ebony said the prioritization. So
yeah. With hitting the wall, I think the issue is that men, they took it and they ran with it, and they started bringing like competition, and they kind of started pitting people against each other for very unnecessary reasons. Really, hitting the wall, I believe at the age of around the age of 30 for most women, that's when fertility rates really start to decline. So like the chance of getting pregnant, I think it like cuts in half around the age of 30. So that's typically why that is so important. Like that age is important. So if you want to have children, it's just, if you're getting near 30, trying to prioritize that is important. But as far as it being like, oh, there's a 28-year-old that I'd rather have, like from the men's side, I don't think that's super common. So I don't quite understand why they use it in that way, but that's really what it is. I think women today need to understand that fertility is a thing, and if you want kids, there is an expiration date on that. You do not have forever, and if you want more than one, you should probably start sooner than later.
So I have a couple of.
Even if you have kids,
oh,
you have to think like even if you have kids and you're like you're a single parent, you still have to think about it like extra kids, because the person you get with, they may have kids, they may not have kids, but the main thing is they might want to have a kid with you. So you still got to think about the fertility thing. Yeah.
Okay, Hanifa.
I think I lost my train of thought, but I'm going to go back a little bit because I think something was said earlier about having both and shushu. And I agree with that to a certain extent. I think there's a limit. And I know for modern woman, that's like a curse word. You putting limits on me, I can do whatever I want. I'm a goddess, you know? And for me, I do think if we're being truthful, I don't believe that women or men, but we're talking about women, can have it all. I think there's something that is sacrificed. I think you can have it all, but at different times. So, for example, I may not be comfortable. Well, I can say I'm not comfortable with sending my child to daycare, right? So for me, it's because how my value system works, right? I value my family. I value being around for my boys because I'm a boy mom. I got 2 boys, and so for me, that wasn't an option to send him to daycare. Now, if I had to work, then and I did do this, by the way, I ended up having to change my position to an overnight position, and it wasn't every day. It was
Oh
like
yeah.
2 days a week overnight, which didn't interrupt my engagement with my sons during the
Right.
week. I mean, during the daytime. And then, I mean, right now I'm not doing it anymore, but at that time, because I learned from my 10-year-old, those first 5 years, how important those first 5 years are with with your child. And I wasn't willing to send my 3-year-old, well, he's now 3, to daycare. So I think you prioritize based on what you value most, right?
Right.
So it's not necessarily that you have to give up what you're doing. You might just have to cut back on hours if you prioritize your family. But this idea that we can do everything, this is why women are getting sick. This is why we're burnt out. This is why we're stressed out. This is why we're overweight. There's a whole lot of reasons as to, because we're not getting enough rest. We think that we can save the world. We won't put the cape down. We think we can do everything at one time and we can just have it all. So that's something I don't push. For me, it's more, I like to have the conversation of, okay, what can be done right now? What is most important to you right now? What needs to be prioritized right now? Because the truth is, your child is not going to be a newborn forever. Your child is not going to be 1 forever. Your child is not going to be 2 forever. That time passes like this. And school or whatever else that you want to do, you will be able to go back and do that. So there's something else that was said that I wanted to speak to as well, but that's when I remember, I'll unmute or whatever.
Okay.
I want to ask. Go ahead,
I
Shushu.
would just say with that, it's more so. A lot of that depends on the partner you have too, because if you have a partner who's willing to work with you, that matters. Now, if you with somebody who is just like, no, I just want my woman to stay at home with the kids, like I don't want my kids going to daycare, that's something different. But if you have a partner who is willing to be just as active with the kids as you are, then that's different. Because like my mom was telling us, like, she didn't have to worry about getting up with me and my brother, because at night when we woke up and stuff like that, he did that. Like, she didn't have to move. He jumped up and did that. Like certain things, like my dad would do. Like even just us growing up, going through school, like our dad just did certain things. So a lot of that depends on like the partner that you have. And also it does depend on like I guess like whatever kind of arrangement y'all have, because like with my parents, my mom was saying that my dad would go to school, would go to college first, and when he finished, like then she would go. So yeah, it's both, but a lot of it is that I think where it gets lost is this idea that you just can't do it. Like, you can't have your career, you can't be a mother and be a mother and all this stuff. And that's just not true. It's not true.
Well, Shushu, what you just said with the prioritize, well, you said it depends on the partner. This is why, like, while we're dating, you have to be very clear on what you want.
Have the conversation.
You have to be honest. If you are someone that wants to stay home with your children, you need to say that to that man during that process of you guys getting to know each other, right? I know he's fine, okay? I know, he got the muscles, and I know he's a gentleman. But if you could just push past that, so that you can lay out what is it that you're looking for. That's why I guess they call it like the vetting process.
Oh, geez, don't say the B word.
Right, we talk about vetting all the time. But for me, I'm just like, two people need to be transparent about what they're looking for. Because if you don't do that and you guys get married, and for whatever reason, that man is like, wait a minute, you've been working our whole relationship. Right. Now we have children and you don't want to go back to work. right? Now, both of you guys, you have an issue because you never was upfront about that's what the fact that's what you wanted, because he had other good qualities that made you kind of just like push that in the background. Men do this too, where they see the red flags in some of these women they're choosing, but because she has a fat ass, can I say ass?
Yeah,
Just
right.
Okay, she has a fat
Answered.
booty. Okay, sorry. She has a fat booty. So he's willing to kind of look past certain things. But the reality is this: when marriage enters the equation, those things are going to have to be confronted at some point, because marriage is another level of self-work that people don't talk about. So
right, and not just have the conversation, but also do the math and do the real math, not the when I get, in 5 years I'll probably have all of this, but do today's math and see if it's mathing, especially for having a child in the picture, because that can happen at any point. At any point.
Right.
Great point.
Welcome, Bethany, to the room. Before I let you
Hi,
go, Coach A, I want to
Bethany.
welcome Bethany to the room.
Hello.
Thank you for joining the panel. We would love to hear what you have to say. And shout out to the chat. I see a lot of comments popping up. As always, man, y'all keep it coming. Ask your questions. I think it was somebody had a question earlier about whether or not either party can respect one another, traditional women.
Yeah.
Versus modern women. But I'll let Coach K go, and then Bethany, we're going to bring you right on into the conversation after Coach K.
Sure.
This. Oh my gosh, this will go into that question, but that's why I think it's important that both parties, like on either side, so modern and traditional, they're honest about what you have to consider in both paths. So, the traditional housewife, whatever, she may not get the dopamine of achieving, a career that she wants or whatever, those goals. I don't know. So it's like, just be honest. And that's why I think these conversations are so important for young people to consider and to hear, just as long as people are honest, because both sides like to dismiss stuff and kind of argue in bad faith. So
okay, all right, Bethany, welcome. What you got for us?
Well, thanks for having me. I haven't been on a panel in a while. I'm in mommy wife mode right now, so excuse me for not camming up.
Oh, you're fine.
I love this conversation, and let me piggyback off what Coach K just said. Couples aren't having the conversation and the deepness in what do they want their marriage to look like, and how I would say bring up how you were raised. I was raised in a 2-parent home, and my mom stayed home. And I think probably by the time after they had my little brother, a couple years later, they started a home-based business. And it's funny because now 30 years later, I'm like, oh yeah, my mom didn't work. And I'm like, wait, she ran the home-based business because my dad was a pastor and a registered nurse. So that really fell on her. And so now fast forward, I'm married with 2 kids. And yes, I have my accounting degree, worked in industry, did the whole corporate thing. But after I got married, my husband realized that it was better suited for me to be home with our son. But he was raised in a household where both parents worked multiple jobs. He was a latchkey kid, ended up being raised by the grandmother because nobody was home with the baby because everybody's working these jobs. So he realized he didn't want that, and he wanted me to be home with our son. So we never did traditional daycare, which was a money saver, but also he just realized like, okay, well, we can afford for you to stay home, but he realized the value of that. And some men don't see the value of that. And hopefully in 2022, most men will see that, because schools these days, I'm not going to put faith in the school system.
Well, we can't put faith in the daycare either. People can't be
Right.
trusted
Look,
with your
people can't
babies.
put faith in nothing.
No.
But before we go too far, I'm gonna put a pin in that right there, because we did mention that earlier in regards to looking at our traditional families and how we looked at Big Mama, Medea, and everybody else who worked from home. But then we realized, yeah, they were doing more than just working from home. But it also goes into something, I think it was Bloom and Ebony said earlier, having the option to say, hey, I want to be this way. And now let's change the dynamics, because family dynamics matter.
Right.
Shout out to DL Saint. I really want to know podcast. Thank you for the $20 super chat. We appreciate you. We'll give you a little something, something, something. But let me read your question. Is saving yourself a marriage gone forever? Are virgins shamed by other women? Just curious. I'm curious too. I ain't been a virgin in so long. I can't comment. I don't know. I don't even think I know a virgin other than, children, and them kind of leery too. But come on, Ma, let's give DL Saint something for this $20 super chat.
You looking for me? Damn, baby. I ain't going nowhere. Chilling right here. Me and a rapper jam on the track, chilling with the pocket queen. No, you weren't expecting this, so not like this. Nah. To the hook, now. Ain't that like when I sing freestyle? Ain't that like when I do it 3 times? You really can do the best, You really can do the best, The mic and the melody comes on, the rhythm to hold on. We can't let it go, no. Ain't that like when I do it 3 times? That's honey.
That's it. On the super chat. So yeah,
I'm gonna say that virgins are gonna be picked on by immature people. Period.
Yeah. I mean, anybody. You ain't got to be no virgin. You could be out here getting it like there's no tomorrow, and you still gonna be picked on by people, because people are just peopling. So I mean, people gonna always find a reason to judge or a reason to have an opinion. I said it earlier, opinions like assholes. Everybody got one until you get a bag. So I mean, happens.
I think it depends on the age of the
People just need
person.
to take the enema, relieve themselves.
Some people have to have theirs removed now. I've medically, that has happened. Some people had some issues. Okay, TMI. I see she face like, why? That's just how much we care about people's opinion. That's my thought on people's opinions. Like, why? Okay, let me.
I got a question.
I was gonna say I think it depends on the age. It's all right. I was gonna say I think it depends on the age of the virgin. To be honest, it does, and I say that because I have had conversations with men who have met women over the age of 35 that were virgins, and they didn't want to touch them. That's a real thing. And for me, I'm like, what? Like that's cool, but for those guys, it's like, why is she still a virgin at 38?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So I think, and I think for women too, if the woman is 40 and she's still a virgin, we might be like, but in the back of our minds, we're like, well, what happened?
Right.
So,
Yeah, what's wrong with her?
yeah. If we're being honest, so I think it depends on the age of the virgin. And I also wanted to say that women find a way to compare them to each other. I mean,
I'm just laughing at you.
Yeah, I think that women find a way to compare themselves with each other all the time. It'd be over really stupid stuff. So we were talking, I think women, we were talking about hitting the wall earlier. I was going to say, I think women shame other women, right? Because what happens with us is that we devalue people who don't value what we value. We have a tendency to do that. We have a tendency to devalue people who don't value what we value.
Right.
Because we think they should value it. So now it's like, well, you ain't like me, you're not thinking like me, then I'm going to devalue you. Also, too, those of us who are married, it really depends on what you put, what do you call it? What your self-worth is rooted in. A lot of people's self-worth is rooted in proximity to women, proximity to relationship with men. So if she's in that's why you have women that can't be single. Every time you turn around, they have a new man, right? They, in fact, they have a whole lineup. They have a bench, right? So that when one player gets fouled out, they just blow the whistle and call in another one, right? And those women have a tendency to be like, well, that's why, or you finally get married. I don't even know why women weaponize marriage against other women. Well, that's why you're not married, right? Here's why. It's because her value is deeply rooted in marriage. So the assumption is every other woman's value is rooted in relationship and marriage. So she projects that onto the other woman. She thinks that you should be miserable because you're single, because she would be miserable because she's single. So I just wanted to say that.
Hanifa, I am your biggest fan. Look, I wanted to say at the beginning, I love Hanifa.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier. And I think Tishawn had asked the question, do you think a traditional woman can respect a modern woman? And it goes back to what Hanifa just said. It's about what people value. And so people take that value and they, I guess, not so much as force the ideology, but they kind of spread that narrative and try to make and shape every individual that's around them for that. And so being able to surround yourself collectively, because some people are raised to be that way. Other people kind of pick that up as they go along. But in order for you as a woman and just people in general to kind of figure out what it is, what works for you, what dynamic works best for you, surround yourself with eclectic people, with eclectic mindsets and personality, so you can kind of see and hear different perspectives and different things, because some people are just so truly simple-minded. True. They don't know what else to do. True. You know?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go
ahead. I think being a virgin is a good thing. Like, you know,
yeah, it's definitely a good thing.
It makes it like, you know, especially if you give your first time with your husband, like it makes it that much more special.
Yeah.
But not for nothing. I'm just saying, you know, I can respect anybody's values. Like, you know what I mean? Because I know some women who in their 30s, I know a woman who was in her, she still, you know, she's in her 40s, still a virgin. You know, and I can respect that, you know, you went the right one. But out of 30, 40 years, you ain't found the one yet. You ain't looking. Right, you ain't looking. It's either you ain't looking or what you're looking for is all jacked up.
I'm gonna let the blooming ebony go, and then I'm gonna share a personal story.
Right.
I was going to say, to your point, Queen Smiley, the mind is a projector, not a camera. So it's not capturing what people are saying. It's projecting their values, their beliefs, what they already believe or have experienced onto other people.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all.
Ooh, bars.
So before I hit these super chats, and because I'm gonna say these super chats, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna send these super chats on up. So I ran into a male version once in my life, and I was in college. And so when I went to college, I had divorced. That was one of the things that me and my ex-husband didn't agree on. So I wanted an education, and not that he didn't want me to have one, but some of our stuff just wouldn't line up. It was a whole lot of other stuff going on too. So when we divorced, that was one of the first things I did. Boom, dive back into my education. And so I ran into a male virgin, and we chatted and we began to get, and I didn't know he was. And so we got to start getting to know each other and all this other stuff. And then when he shared that, I was like, never mind. And it was out of respect for him. Here's why. I was married with children. So when I divorced, here it is. I'm a woman with children. Here it is. You ain't even started your journey yet.
Yeah.
Boy, you ain't finna be looking for me with a flashlight in the daytime. Ain't nobody got time for that. Shout out to the AP. I wasn't finna start that.
Yeah.
You want to know something honest when it comes to virgin, the unicorn. If she's over to about 27, the issue is not that she's a virgin, and it's just basically what Shushu said. When you find yourself to be a certain age and you still hadn't found the one, what's up with you? And I think a lot of times we as women don't like to look in the mirror. But sometimes I'll be really wanting to start, like, we got to look in the mirror at some point. You know, we keep having these roundabout conversations. Oh, what do men want? What do women want? Are we modern or traditional? What makes us more appealing? Baby, just take do some self-reflecting. Because for you to be in these conversations and keep having these conversations and you still hadn't found the one, you were never chosen, you never chose anybody, like something's up. Okay. And it ain't just the people you running into.
And people know that, like, they're not fixed. Like, even they're like, our brains are not fixed. Even our talents, whatever. If you put the work in, now temperaments are a little different, but regardless, you're not fixed. So if you want something, you just got to put the work in. Like, that's it. It's like, I don't want to hear anything else. It's not going to come to you, you know?
Yeah. And then real quick, the other super chat, it's that we don't want to ruin her. We respect her a lot. We're not ready for the commitment yet. Yeah. And that was pretty much it. And that was my decision when I ran into that version. I'm like, yeah, no, I ain't the one. Like, I know I'm not your one. So let me not do you. I would rather you save yourself for the person that you did. And we end up running into each other later. One time I went home and I ran into him. And just out of curiosity, because I'm a nosy individual, and I like prying in people's personal space in their business. That's the question. Have you been taken care of? You know. I ask anybody anything. And so beautiful animated, I can't tell you. Ask the question. Yeah, he had been. You know, did you know? And so he was dating somebody and he said, yeah, and they had embarked on this beautiful journey and all this other stuff. And I'm like, perfect. So, and then of course
he had sex with his girlfriend.
He had sex with his girlfriend. And she ended up being the one. Till marriage. I say, boy, if I'd have known.
See?
Okay, I'm just playing. I didn't say that. But I was tickled. I'm like, you did all that waiting and she still wasn't the one. I'm terrible.
But that's good on you though.
You know, not dating someone who's a virgin and making fun of a virgin, two separate things. You know what I'm saying?
Two separate things. So I chose not. But let's go ahead. Shout out to the 8P accountability partner. We appreciate your super chats. Can we get something for him? Like, we appreciate you for rocking out with us. Like, for real.
I got a red room, it's the red dawn when the sun sets in my bedroom. Oh, it feels like I'm inside a flower. It feels like I'm inside my eyelid. It feels like I'm inside a flower.
Yeah. That's that tiger lily. He inside a tiger lily.
You gotta put on the shades for that.
Both of them.
Music is jamming.
I'm gonna change the conversation just a little bit. Let's talk about anything somebody shared, because I want to ask a question, and it's based on definitions. Because the traditional woman, basically the dynamics was rooted in religion. So with that being stated, is that still a true reality, especially for this day and time when you have more people who are non-believers? You see more non-believers than you used to. I would say that. And so people's views on church and religion has changed. So with the traditional woman's foundation being rooted in that religion, what do y'all think the difference is pretty much now? So is that still being a true traditional woman?
So the question that you can be traditional without being religious?
No, not that, but that's part of my question later.
Oh.
So look, thanks for reading my mind, Shushu. Great minds think alike.
Jumping the gun.
But answer it. Go ahead, Shushu. Go ahead. So with that, if that's truly the definition, and traditional women and modern women are so defined by religious beliefs, if that's where it was rooted, and they're pretty much defined by religious belief, for non-believers, what do that look like? Can a traditional woman be a non-traditional woman be a non-believer?
Yeah, you can still, because here's the thing, you can still how do I say this? You can still do traditional things. You see what I'm saying? Like you may not
saved and
believe in the Bible.
sanctified because you're gonna
You
take
may
a
not believe
husband
in the Bible,
to be
but
by
like
your side.
because
You
if
still
that
have morals.
yeah, exactly. And there's still certain things that is believed or that a traditional woman should do that you may not be religious, but you still do them. So it doesn't make you non-traditional. You know what I mean? So like, and if we take it outside of Christianity, in Islam and in Hindu like religion, there in other religions, there are still like, certain traditions, certain cultures, and certain things that certain roles that the man and the woman play. You know what I mean? The husband and the wife play. So,
What up, Hank?
if it if she's like Islamic, what I'm saying, and she's a wife, like she follows the rules of Islam as far as like what is a wife in Islam, what I'm saying, technically she's traditional within the guise of Islam. She's traditional,
right?
You know what I'm saying, so it doesn't mean that just because you're not of a certain faith, you know what I mean, and even if you just you are spiritual, still doesn't mean that you can't be a traditional kind of wife.
Now, how are we gonna jump from virgins to role playing?
What?
You know what?
What?
Wait, what? Yeah, what?
You know what? No, because I said, each religion has their definition of what a husband's role is and a wife's role is. So, as long as they playing that role. So that's why she was saying, how we gonna go from being talk about virgins to role playing.
Look,
That was good.
Yeah, that was good. So I like Queso's comment, a traditional marriage versus a Christian marriage, because in so many words, look at the blooming ebony. Show is them different things right there.
100%. And I don't think that there are more non-believers now. I think there are believers who believe differently. I think people think about religion differently. They question religion a little bit more. But a lot of those people still retain their core faith. Nice. But it's interesting with traditional marriage versus Christian marriage. It's so wild to me that most Christians will say it's a sin to fornicate, but they also want to have sex with their spouse prior to committing for life. And so I think, and within every religion, not just to pull out Christianity alone, but I think within every religion, there is the religious aspect, and then there is a cultural aspect. And, I agree that there can be certain like familial norms or just things that people do day to day that is not necessarily connected to the religious part.
I would say that I think they're both tied together. Like the more the West becomes secular, the more modern, not like, I guess the more liberal sense of women and their roles in topics such as this, but at the same time the church has also gotten more has kind of steered away, well, at least in the Christian faith has steered away from a lot of traditions and have become more accepting and whatnot, and more open. But I would say I think the traditional woman is rooted, and I said this on a panel earlier, I think the traditional woman is rooted in, these basic, the family, taking care of her household. Working is a part of it though now. Like the world changes, but these core foundational principles with the faith too, I would say, at least for me, I think remain the same, but it's just going to look different, especially with technology. We have washer and dryers. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be a traditional wife and wash it by hand. Come on.
So get that washboard, hang them clothes.
With that Lysol.
Was that Bethany that was asking the question?
Y'all are so funny. Well, I would think the difference would be your intentions behind it that would make the difference between traditional and traditional Christian marriage. It all depends how people I hate to say defining that. 'Cause I don't want to redefine Christianity in, in the biblical sense. But yeah, it's the intentions behind it. Because even Christians now that are equally yoked and this and that, you'll hear stories about how the husband may not love his wife properly, or how the wife may not submit. They may be Bible scholars, but they still have drama in the house. So on the outside, you're thinking they have this Christian marriage, but it's not what it seems. So it all depends. I mean, are people having sex before marriage and they're considered Christian? Yeah. You may not know about it. They may not put it on blast. But also, I think it depends on what you promote on your social media and that kind of thing too, that may help define some of that. Like, I remember me and my husband, we got pregnant before we got married, and I did not promote my pregnancy. Like, people didn't know I was pregnant. I showed up to my homecoming a year later with a 1-year-old, and people like, when you had a baby? Yeah, I kind of got off of social media because I was ashamed. I was embarrassed by that. But now I know people glorify getting pregnant whenever, whoever kind of mindset, but I still held on to those. I am a believer, but put a little cart before a horse action. But I was, I guess, shamed for it. Not, by the family, but my other non-believers in my family, they didn't see it as a big deal. But my parents and my brothers made it a big deal. So I got off of social media for those 9 months. Like, nobody know I got married and I actually had a wedding and this and that, unless you were in it and invited. It was just part of it. So it just depends on your core values and what you want the world to see. Some people, I don't care what the world sees. I'm gonna have my bomb baby shower and my 350 people wedding. Like, oh, okay.
Right. Right. Because, I mean, oh my goodness, the weddings. Come on. Like, all these people, you paying for all these plates and seats.
No, then the wedding doesn't outlast the bill.
Yeah, like, I'm not doing it, I don't think.
Like, you gotta really, like, you should be picky about your guest list and not give a damn about nobody else. They fees. Okay, let them have it. Give them a net to catch it. Catch your fees. Catch all of them. Right. Because this ain't your wedding. It ain't about you. It's about the groom, the bride and the groom, and whoever's holding them down. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoever really is about you and stuff like that. That's who need to be in them seats and being fed.
I wanted to speak to the value piece. So I think what we was just speaking about really just comes back to the value piece and not necessarily religion. Because as a non-religious person, some people will probably find me conservative in a lot of aspects, and then in other aspects they'll find me very liberal. In certain ways, in the way that I parent, even some people would say, well, that's a very liberal way of parenting. Like, I don't believe in beating children, right? I don't believe in hitting kids. I do not hit my children. I don't think that it's necessary. Whereby I know a lot of Christian who is spare the rod, spoil the child, and I used to be a Christian, but I'm a non-religious person. But I think your value system is what it really boils down to, because there are people, like, you got to think about what molds our value systems, right? So we have virtues, and then we have family dynamics, and then we have experiences, right? So there are people who grew up maybe with a Christian grandmother, and so there's certain ways that they carry themselves, even if they themselves don't become Christians. That is imprinted on them. So when they go out into the world, they're like, no, you don't put whatever. I mean, little things that people do. My grandmother said, don't put your bag on the floor.
Right.
My grandmother said, you don't, they hold on to those values.
Be broke.
Even though they can be non-religious, because those things are imprinted on us based on our upbringing and our experiences. That's what shapes our value system. So I don't think it always has to do with religion. And I say this as somebody who is non-religious, that share, I would say, a lot of some conservative views, I do share them. And then others, I'm like, okay, this is where we hit the fork in the road. You go left and I go right. Maybe we're going to meet back up further down the line or what. But yeah, it's not always religion. A lot of times it is, but not always.
Yeah.
That's ladies' night. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Hey, Canadian.
Welcome, Canadian born. Go ahead, the Blooming Ebony.
Good evening, my sisters.
You on in, Black
No,
David.
you got too much bass in your voice to this panel.
Too much testosterone. I just wanted to add, so for the traditional marriage versus the traditional Christian marriage, so I'm actually studying biblical femininity in marriage right now. The difference is so basically they both value and prioritize their families, like as the wife. The difference is when you are prioritizing your family, you're not doing it because you have a husband. You're doing it because in the rule book, being the Bible, serving your husband in that certain way is serving the Lord. And so basically everything that you do is because you're serving God. So you feel like if you put work above your husband, your children, and homemaking in that order is actually a sin. Like you're supposed to prioritize these things and nothing else should get in the way of you pleasing your husband, caring for your children, and maintaining your home. So that's like the difference.
Yeah. Black David, what's good? Welcome.
I'm doing good. Thank you.
What? Despite the bass in your voice. What?
When I'm
You
relaxed,
look, at least I'm not Black Man. At least I wouldn't play your video. And don't do that. Don't do that to Black David on our don't do that on our show. Don't do that.
Or
Don't come for
Mandrell
him.
doing his voice.
Come on, yeah. Come on, Black David. What you got for us?
Brian!
oh gosh.
I gotta do it for my man, Black Man, number one.
It ain't me. It ain't me, Black David. How dare y'all?
I'll blame my choo-choo tonight.
What?
Come on, give us your choo-choo.
What?
When I'm fully relaxed, my voice is very deep. But you guys have a very interesting meeting conversation. The reason I'm saying that is because I used to go to church. I'm still a Christian, but just what I saw in the church these days got me thin away. And that particular topic have been walked over several times. No one trying to get into the nitty-gritty and trying to address the issue. And the way you guys got into it, it was something very clear to hear and understand based on the point of view. Now, I won't call myself a Bible scholar, but I've been digging in the Bible since I was young at the age of 7. So that's when I started reading the Bible, and I fully understood it. But what Blooming Ebony mentioned, it was something about conduct and how they conduct themselves in the marriage that a lot of people in the church overlooked, which is priority. And I knew that always been the case because you're not gonna believe this, but in my young teenager, I questioned a lot of pastors of that particular scripture, and they didn't understand them stuff. And I wondered why you should be a leader if you don't understand the scripture you're reading. Like how the person would conduct themselves. And there was something that drove me almost insane. When you're a nerdy kid and you start to understand things beyond your age and you're trying to find questions and answer, people think you're weird. So I had to keep a lot of this information to myself over the years. That's how finding the right people who can make it clear for me to understand what I was reading. And what you point out is something I don't think a lot of women are really ready to address about when entering a marriage. It's not about role, it's about your position in that marriage. It's about what you bring in that marriage can either tilt the scale in your favor that will affect the whole family in a good way, or tilt the scale negative to your favor that can affect the whole family the whole way. The thing I apply to men as well. It's no excuse. I'm not a dictator of my household, but I don't believe to be a dictator because I understood it and I watched other people's marriage and see what caused the downfall. in their marriage. So when I watch people, I study like a scientist. I'm taking mental note. I'm analyzing. I'm asking questions. So when you guys hit these areas, it was actually needed to be done because if you don't address this issue, the next generation will have to come back and try to address that same issue again. I am the single one. I'm glad what you put out there. Your own point of view is also needed because when it comes to talking about traditional roles, what it really meant, too many times I've watched guys destroy the definition. Sometimes when I take a baseball bat, hit him in the head a couple of times, that's not what it meant. Because they take it too far and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So me being a nerd, I used to be a Bible nerd, maybe I still am, just I don't push it out too much. But for them to talk about traditional role, you have to fully grasp and understand it's a two-way street. It affects the woman as well as it affects the men. It's all about tilting the scales. If one put too much effort and it's not balanced out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. You gotta have balance and have those conversations. The conversations in the beginning are crucial to the success of any relationship. So DL Saint, welcome.
What's good, everybody? How y'all doing? What's up? What's good? What's
How are
good?
you?
Salute to the panel. Salute to the chat. What's up? Great conversation y'all having. It's always good to see. This is rare. This is what we definitely need more of. I heard a lot of references to YouTube. You guys were saying YouTube, but I know y'all were talking about like that manosphere stuff. Like, yo, but YouTube says this. You started talking about the like, I ain't getting on the manosphere. Y'all had valid points. And thanks for addressing that question I sent out there. I was just curious about that. I wanted to see what admin was gonna play for the super chat, and I was happy with it. You know what I mean? I was happy with it. But then they played White Chocolate for me, and I really got happy afterwards for the next super chat. I was like, yeah, that's what I really wanted to see.
But with White Chocolate, what he's thinking, I'm sure you understand what he's thinking about.
Hey,
that Tiger Lily.
Hey, like I think I might have to say pause behind what Brother David just said. I don't know. Don't know. Not where my mind was just going, but I think Jay Swans was on to something in the chat, right? Right. Like, I don't know. But Jay Swans was on something in the chat, and that, that's my brother right there. You know, we were in the military together, we served together. He rocks with me on my platform. Shout out to him and his beautiful queen wife, Naya. I've known him for over 30 years, and I was in a position where I watched his whole relationship with his wife, and they've been married over 20 years. I've watched that from the beginning to where it is now, and I know where all the bodies are buried, right? So there's a couple things like what he said, like they don't care about what other people think about what goes on with their relationship. And the secret to their success is just that, and they don't bring in drama as a family, right? Mm-hmm. All these people rushing to social media, you know what I mean? Tyrese, he had some drama with family court. He crying about he got to pay child support. Come on, y'all.
What more do you want from me?
Right?
And that's the very reason why our men won't be vulnerable. Always got to be laughing and sniggling and giggling.
Hey, look, bro, I don't care who you is. If you put yourself out there like that, we are making memes. Shushu gonna make a viral video based on that bullshit. Kanye West walking around with a sock on his head, got zippers for eyes. Come on now. Come on now. If you think
people ain't gonna, and you think people ain't gonna, like some of it is comical, and it's not comical in the sense that we're insensitive to feelings and emotions and all of that. But like, come on,
man, look, I watched that Alex Jones thing. We tried to react to that on my platform. We lasted 46 seconds. We had to turn it off. Turn it off. We was tapping out. 46 seconds in. Turn this shit off. It was only a 9-minute clip. I don't think it was that long. And here's the thing. Somebody get Kanye some help. Stat. Ain't that what ain't that what y'all saying when y'all make believe in Hollywood movies? Get some stat. Nigga, get him some help. Stat. ASAP stat.
Yeah. He need
help. But back to what Jay Swans was saying, we're talking about relationships and stuff like that. I think a lot of people they miss that. because they're rushing to get clout. Clout is the new currency. You know what I mean? And they will ruin everything over clout. Now, with reference to you didn't pay to come up and simp. Like, I didn't pay you to come up and simp. Ain't nobody simping. You know what I mean? We trying to get to it, brother. Black man. Don't drop me down. You know, he's notorious for taking people off the panel without, when he get mad at you. I be doing that now on my platform. But here's the thing. Traditional women, I would listen to what y'all was saying, but there was I'm hearing pushback on a bunch of stuff. Like, I hate to get back to that thing, but remember, saving yourself for marriage used to be a thing. That's just, you guys answered half the question, but you left the first part off. Is that done? Saving yourself for marriage, is that gone?
I mean, the thing is, if we have virgins, then it's not done. You know.
Well, hold on. Queen Smiley, you in command. I'm gonna let you figure out who goes first.
I was gonna say, so before we answer that question, shout out to the Book of Ronan for the $10 super chat. We're gonna hit him and then we're gonna answer that question, DL, because I don't want us to lose sight of the rest of the night, but I don't want to miss this opportunity to celebrate this super chat. So, admin, hit us with it one time.
What's for me will always be for me. And I'll get what I always was meant to receive. I gotta wait on it, wait on it, wait on it, wait for it, wait for it, wait.
So that's what the virgins are doing.
Black man be finding them, don't he?
Okay. That's what the virgins are doing. There are still people that are waiting on the DL, okay, to answer the question. Thank you for that, because that was a beautiful intro to answer that question. There are still some people who are truly waiting on it. And so that's not gone. I think many times now, the way society is and what society celebrates and the culture celebrates now, I think earlier in life, and I think it was the case that Bethany was sharing earlier, so many women are now celebrating even having children prior to marriage. And so now that part of the culture, and I ain't just talking about the Black culture, I'm talking about society, U.S. culture. Okay, this is America we talking about. That in this culture, that's one of the things, not that waiting is gone, but that's one of the things that's currently being celebrated. And because it's currently being celebrated, unfortunately, this is a result. You'll find few and far between individuals that's waiting. Black Dave, and then we'll run the bottom and come on up to you, Black Ebony.
I would say is both in the US and the UK, it's like almost completely gone unless you're coming from a heavily culture background. They're still promoted to this day, either from the African culture based on religion or their own tradition, or based on people from other ethnic groups. They hold it there because that is part of the key foundation in their culture background. That's why you have gatekeepers. They don't believe in having people. I'm not gonna lie to you, but that's what I hear from my elder growing up young. They tell the young kid, don't act like American kids. Don't be wild like them. Don't be out of control like them. Other ethnic group or other community of different cultures say the same exact thing. Because you know why? When you mimic the American society ideology or the UK society ideology, you lose a part of the uniqueness of yourself. You become regular. That's what they call it. So when my parent and relative tell you two are Americanized, they're saying I lost the essence or the uniqueness I have from my culture. So I'm just like the regular folk out in the street who had no common sense. That is what being said.
Okay.
Let you guys know, it don't have to be from the Yoruba tribe, where I'm from, but every other ethnic group, they hold that fundamental very sacred, because you know why? They want their kid to be something of great essence, great role model within the community, so people can say, you know what, we're not gonna be like everybody else. We will stay close to the path at hand. Just let you guys know.
Yeah. So anybody else will again go to Beautiful Animate and we'll run across the bottom to the top of the screen. If you have something to share in regards to are people still waiting? Is that idea gone or is it not? If you have something to add it. If not, we'll just pass to the next person.
No, I already said, like, I mean, because we still have virgins, that's proof in itself that people are still waiting. That that it's not gone
Okay.
fully. You may have a small group of them or whatever. I don't really know. I'm not doing no survey and stuff like that, but they're still out there.
That's a bet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that people are still waiting.
Yeah.
I just think also to like considering the times that we're living in, people are getting married much later on in life now.
Yeah.
So like people can't even make it to the finish line, like because you're talking
That's it.
about I'm gonna get married after I'm 25, after I'm finished my master's degree or whatever. Our grandparents was getting married at 18, some of them younger,
Yeah.
19. So that wait that we're talking about wasn't that long, wasn't as long as it is now because of how far back people have pushed marriage. So people are not waiting to consummate anything. They're just like, we're gonna do it all the way until up until this time. But people are still waiting. But I think we are desensitized and over sexualized, and no one is holding sex as sacred as they once did. I think that's a big part of it. So yeah.
I think that there might be a difference between women waiting and men waiting. And so I think that's a very real thing. And then I think that, as I said, I think sex is such a huge part of the marriage relationship. I think many people, men and women, want to understand what that would be like with their partner before committing.
Right. And some people truly want to test the waters. Shout out to the chat. Don't forget, hit the super chat. Support the channel. CASHAPP Black Man Unfiltered Network. Send a super sticker. You name it, and don't forget to hit that like button. Bethany, you got anything for us?
Hey, real quick before you go, Bethany, Queen Naya corrected me. It's 22 years with Jay Swans and his wife, Queen Naya. My bad, Queen Naya. My bad. My math was off by 2 years. But go ahead, Bethany.
I remember growing up where you knew who the fast girls were, and it wasn't a good thing. I remember when it was like, no, you can't go out with you. Who's your little friend? Oh no, she fast. Her family, blah blah blah. You going to change some friend groups, and you just knew that, and it was looked down upon. And
Right.
so we don't have that anymore. Parents don't know who the kids' friends are, how the family, who in the house, none of that. So being a virgin when I was growing up was you knew who the virgins were, and we weren't talked about. We weren't because we were athletes. We knew everybody. We were friendly and nice. We just wasn't getting done in the car on homecoming night. So we made it home. We all went out in groups, and so yeah, it's just we raising. My husband and I have 2 sons, and we're just like, please don't be out here messing with these little girls when y'all get of age. And obviously we don't say it like that because we're just like, we happy y'all like little girls in 2022. But they're 4 and 7.
Yeah.
So, in 10 years though, we don't know what this world is gonna look like. But my husband has told them, you're gonna have a wife one day and you need to choose wisely. And prayerfully, we're not telling I know we're not gonna be telling our sons, get a notch on your belt. No, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, it goes for guys and girls.
Well, we can talk about that later. I don't know, but we're continuing on.
biblically speaking.
Yeah. I think it's fading away. I think that we have that testing the waters curse, which is awful. I think that was just wrong to tell like teenagers they should test the waters before they jump in when it comes to something like sex, because it affects marriages, like whether people want to believe it or not. If you don't wait, if you don't at least have your best sexual experience be with the person you're going to marry, your marriage it could be doomed. The likelihood of it ending is just so incredibly high. So I think it's fading away. The idea of waiting, or at least what's fading away, is just valuing sex in general. I just don't think people value it anymore. I think they think that it's something that they can just dispose of and throw around as they please. And it's going to lead to a lot of issues. And I do agree for both men and women. Like, I hate this. Like, men are like virgins or unicorns, but then they get mad when women have a 3-month rule and they don't want to sleep with you too soon. And it's like, how about you go in a corner and take a nap and then wake up with a better mindset?
Okay.
Hoocha.
You said about 4 there.
That's a whole nother topic.
Okay.
Why you switch people up,
especially
black
hitting
man? Because
them
I don't know
bars,
where we
man.
left off at.
Was it well, I didn't go.
Shoo. Yeah.
Is there, our virgins like what a thing of the past? There are people that are still waiting, but let's just be honest, it's not very high, it's not very many. And the way that society is going, I mean, it looked like it is going to be a thing of the past, because one thing I can say is, and when Bethany was talking about how things were when she was growing up, I grew up in a time where it was like that too. And so it wasn't a good thing to be out here talking about how many bodies, quote unquote, bodies you had, or if you were, having premarital sex and stuff like that, you were sexually active. It's not like that's something you wanted the world to know. Right. You know what I mean? If you did share with people, it was only a select few people that you really, really trusted. And, you know what I mean? It wasn't something that was like, I'm a, and I'm still a believer that like everybody should know your business, but right. I don't know. It's incredibly sad. If how we get back to that, I don't have an answer. But we need to. We really do, because discretion and being discreet is something that is lost, especially in this social media generation, because everybody want to be a superstar, everybody want to go viral, so everybody trying to post the most ridiculous story and all this other stuff. I saw a post just yesterday. This guy, he was talking about some chick. She made a video talking about a lot of the young girls now today may have had 200 bodies before they hit like 30. And that's like, saying it's not abnormal. Like, back in the day, like that was abnormal. You know what I mean? But you'd have that many bodies on you, like, and that wasn't something like a badge of honor. Like, I mean, I don't know. Values have to come back somewhere.
That's why I've been celibate.
I don't know, because especially when one thing I can say about like, that it's because you got women now who don't even value marriage. Right. Like, I can raise a child by myself. No, I'm not gonna go on a tangent about that. But like,
the ghetto.
The long story is we gotta reel this in somewhere, because it is utterly ridiculous and it's out of control.
There's no shame.
Exactly. You need to be ashamed of something.
Yeah, very much so.
They are ashamed of something. They're ashamed of being virgins.
Coach K hadn't gone. Coach K, go ahead.
I'll be real quick.
We're gonna have to make it to final thoughts at some point.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. I think just as a society, the West is just morally bankrupt. We don't have morals, manners, any of it. It's all about instant gratification, me, materialism. Like, there's no, like, I don't want to say, I'm going to generalize because obviously, but we don't really value things. And it's like, it's less about follow these rules and you're a good person. It's more so like, maybe you do want to save yourself because of these reasons, And I think young people need to know this and actually think deeper about it versus like, a lot of our culture right now is you're bad if you think this, you're bad if you think that. It's like, actually, let's start explaining why these things have been the way that they are versus demonizing people that are more traditional or whatever. Like there's traditions for a reason. That's another thing. We don't really have traditions anymore. At least I would say most young people, they don't really care about creating traditions. And I come from a family who didn't have, married parents, or I didn't have married parents, and I didn't have a mom, which I think is BS when people say, if you didn't grow up with a mom who raised you and to be a feminine woman, then you can't be traditional. Whatever, I can learn. Again, I'm not fixed, but I can create my own traditions if I want to, and I like my reasons for it. I want to, be fulfilled in that way, and that's my greater purpose, I believe. So that's it.
Yeah, and just real quick, a couple chats that I was reading as we were all talking. I think me have donuts. Unfortunately, there are countless more folks out there today going, I am saving myself simply because they do not want to admit that they are struggling to find somebody. That was a thing that we discussed earlier in having that type of struggle. And then Jay Swan said, our sons have told women that he's looking for a woman like his mother. Do you think that's something me? Okay. I guess young people maybe will learn from their fathers or mothers. And that's a thing too. And I was thinking about that the other day, and I even said out loud, I really hope that my sons, I wish they would find a woman that's more like me versus some of these other people that's out here in the streets, especially my younger one, because I'm still a mama that iron my baby clothes, and he's 11. They're like, you iron your baby clothes? I know he know how. I'm like, look, hold on. First off, he my baby. He's so sweet. And he know how to iron his clothes. He know how to iron clothes. I've taught him how to do laundries, wash dishes, clean, all of that other stuff.
Come on. It's time to be Sergeant Queen. No, it's time to be Sergeant Queen. It's time to be Sergeant Queen. He need to be standing tall before the man. Come on now. He's 11. You gotta let that go. Right?
For some things, yes, I let it go. But that little small gesture, I like taking care of my baby. Okay.
I'm just saying that's the difference right there. To Jay Swan's point, and then I'll do my final thought. But to Jay Swan's comment about his son saying, "I want a woman that's like my mom." Where does that come from? It comes from the environment in which he was raised.
Yes.
He was raised in a home,
a collective environment.
Yes, with a strong mom, a strong dad, and a village. So he's not gonna be cool with the girl who's twerking on him. He's not going to be cool with the girl who's like, you could come get this. She beat that city life. He's not going to be cool with that. He's not going to be cool with a boss babe. He's not going to be cool with that. And he just Jay Swans didn't tell you this, but I share because that's my godson. He told a young girl, you should wear more clothes.
And that's it.
Let's go.
You should wear more clothes. So we'll tag all out into my final thoughts, and I want to add this as well. You guys were talking about religion, right? Y'all know I'm a heathen, but I know the stories. I know the stories. Y'all know I'm a heathen. And I'll tell you why I'm a heathen. Because religion is of man. The word is not of man. Right? It's not. Church will have you believe, in the Western church, I'm talking Southern Baptist or whatever, they will have you believe you can go out here and do anything you want. All you got to do is ask for forgiveness and you're good. You're good to go. Now, Islam doesn't work that way. There's no consequences in the religion that I was raised up in that doesn't make sense to me. Islam has consequences, and I'm not Muslim. I'm not, pushing their religion, but I respect it. Because if you steal something and you're a Christian, all you got to do is say, forgive me, Jesus, I stole this, and you go on your way. If you steal something and you're a Muslim, they going to ask you which hand you stole it with. And guess what? You're getting the chop. Consequences are missing in the Western world, and we're looking at what that looks like now. There's no consequence for not being a virgin. There's no consequence for having a child out of wedlock. There's no consequence for being a boss babe in city life. You get married to some dude who's traditional, he wants to give you the whole world, and guess what? You still thinking about that your high school sweetheart who rocked you out on prom night, and that dude hits you up on Instagram, right? What do? You divorce the beta, they want to call him beta. You've divorced the traditional dude, crush him, take half his stuff, keep his kids away from him, and go back to the high school dude.
Foolery.
Right? That's what, because there's no consequence.
There's
Right?
consequences. They just come later. You reap what you sow.
Okay, maybe. But if you really, if you are hardcore like that, there is no consequence. You're gonna win. You're gonna win in the Western world. Ladies, I wish I had that power. Not that I would use it, but you could wreck a dude. The society will wreck the dude for you. Take half, you're getting resources and you get security. There's a story, and I'll say this and I'll get off. There's a story dropped a few days ago. It's in the New York Post. Yeah, New York Post, I believe it was. A man in California went to Disneyland, got into a parking garage, went up to the very, very top of the parking garage, and jumped off. Self-deleted. Because his wife, no one knew he married, right? And they had merged their families. They had an argument in the house. She called the police. This man had to go to jail overnight over this domestic violence thing. He swears he didn't touch her. He swears all this stuff. They were prepping for court. He lost his job over it. He was a principal of the year. They suspended him pending an investigation. He knew he was going to get fired. He was like, "Oh, my life is over," and he self-deleted himself over a female who was. What was she going to do? If she wanted to, she could have walked away from that marriage, taken half the stuff, taking her kids away from him, which he had foreign bonds with. He had no legal tie. You see where I'm getting at? Our society is based now on doing what you want to do. There's no consequence. It's not. I'm not just beating up on the ladies. There are dudes out there running amok. They doing it. They getting away with it. No consequence. So my thing is this. I think the Muslims are onto something. If you do wrong, you should be punished here in this world, in this existence. You shouldn't wait till you go off to paradise or wherever you're supposed to be going. Right here, right now. It shouldn't be something you and Jesus got. It should be, okay, you and Jesus can talk about it, but show me the hand you stole this with. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that off. Consequences. That's all I gotta say about that, y'all. Great show, y'all. I hope y'all keep doing this. I'm gonna keep coming back. You know what I mean? It's a great show.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, DL.
The beard look nice on you, DL. We
I stole
appreciate
it.
you for showing up. You stole
This
it.
ain't even. This is I stole it.
Dropping my stuff out of here.
Crying.
Get him the chop.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
How would I go after that?
I don't know, Black David. I guess you can say
I
something
would say
about the
this.
topic. You know
What he said.
what he
that
said.
did. Let me correct that. There are certain church that do practice consequences, but they're not popular church. I grew up out of that particular church. What's going on in today's society, I've been saying it for more than 20 years. While in the church, I said, when you lose your value system, everything falls. I'm not surprised a lot of people only come here for a short period of time, spend 10 to 15 years, and say they're leaving this country to build their family outside this country because they see society as there's nothing good here. So I cannot blame them for that. The moral compass that we have in this country was destroyed by the media because people allowed it to happen. I saw the warning sign for the longest. I pointed out, when you're a lone person or very few who pointing out the obvious, everybody think you're crazy. Until they start to realize it's too late to apologize and know you wasn't crazy. The only way you can create a moral compass is starting from home. And you be consistent about it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to thank my mentors, my role models, my elders, who I look up to, who were consistent, both mostly male and a few other females that play a huge impact in my life for that specific reason. Those people did not include my mother nor my father. I would say right now, my mother and my father failed me. But I didn't look up to them. I look up to those elders who showed me something different.
Yeah.
The reason why we have what we have in today's society is because too many people are easily willing to quit and say they join the bandwagon. They don't put their foot down and say, no, I'm not going to follow it. When you become a lone person who decide to hold on a particular moral value compass, you're gonna be looked down on regardless. I think the problem we have here is if you cannot repair the community, you can start something new. Start a tribe. When you start a new tribe, align yourself with people with like-minded views just like you and build from there. Yes, I'm a Christian. I don't go to church because there's too many churches are weak. The article he mentioned about, we saw it in New York Post, but that's not the only one that happened to. There's many other that happen out here in New York City. We got it bad. But I will say this, lady, gentlemen, if you want to make a change, start within yourself first. Find like-minded people and walk from there. Forget the community. You cannot save the community, but you can start a new tribe. That's what I'm going to tell you.
Thank you, Black David. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
I love it here. Come on, be animated. Maybe we got 7 minutes.
Okay, so traditional women, modern women are in the middle. You know, do your thing. It's your life. No one can live it but you. So, I mean, you can't let your life be run by peers, like peer pressure. I think that's another part of the problem. It's peer pressure. That's why we don't have so many virgins and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want to keep up with the Joneses and stuff like that. So anyway, you catch me on Beautifully Animated Speaks, and here on Black Man Unfiltered. Whenever he goes live, I'm around because he be having the topics. It be popping over here. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you for so much for joining. And thank you also DL and Black David. Mods, if y'all could jump up, they probably already dropped it. Our mods are awesome over here. So if y'all have already done it, y'all dropped where y'all can find DL and Black David. So thank you all for joining tonight. All right. Talk to us, Queen.
So I wanted to speak to the last comment about finding your mother in your significant other or the person you choose to be coupled with. I think that's inevitable. I wanted to say that's inevitable. I think that's where the subconscious mind comes in. So much of what we do, our behavior and so forth, is dictated by our subconscious mind. And I think that the Lil Scrappy comes to mind, and his mother, Mama D or whatever, and that whole viral video where he said he ended up finding a wife that's very much like his mother, right? Who they're just hard, they're just hardened. He didn't want that, but somehow that is what he attracted to himself. So I think sometimes we underestimate the power of familiarity and comfortability. People are drawn to what's familiar and what's comfortable to them, even if it's unhealthy for them. So I wanted to say that part, that's inevitable. And then the last thing I would say is that as far as the topic, we have to be honest with ourselves. You can lie to everyone else, but I mean, not saying that you should, but if you lie to yourself, that is exactly what you're going to create in your own reality. Like, if you know that you're not trying to be a traditional wife, be comfortable with that, make peace with that within yourself before you start going out there to date. And then when you go out to date, be upfront about that. Like, don't allow anyone to scare you into shape shifting yourself just to acquire a ring or the status of marriage. Like, be honest with yourself, because the truth be told, there is someone out there for you. If you just take your time and vet properly, you will meet someone. And by the way, you want to meet someone who loves you for who you are as a person. So for me, it's just being honest with yourself first. Get comfortable with that so that when you meet someone, you're not afraid to show that so that you can know if you're being aligned with the right person or not. So that's really all I have to say about that. And
Thank you.
thanks for having me. I enjoy you ladies.
No, thank you for coming. We've
Thanks for
enjoyed the
being here.
conversation. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and thank you for sharing your perspective. It was definitely needed in this conversation. So blessings to you and thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. We hope to see you back.
Okay.
All
Don't
right.
tell me your page. Hanifa got a page, y'all. I'm
Okay.
following you too.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
You guys can
Find
follow me at Hanifa Nayela. It is my name on the bottom. And on my page, I just talk about parenting, self-development, and I talk about things that specifically affect the Black community. And so, yeah, you can check me out, Hanifa Nayela, on YouTube. Appreciate
right.
that.
All
Have
right.
a good evening, ladies.
Good night. And y'all can hang out in the back chat too. If y'all still want to continue some conversations or y'all had some questions for each other personally, then just hang out. We'll see you back there in just a bit. Bethany.
First of all, just thank you for having me tonight. I miss coming up on the panels and giving my little 2 cents. I would just want to say, with everything going on, the conversations that we've had over in the last couple of years, I would tell people look at the choices that you're making now and see if those choices line up for the future that you want. If you want to be a woman that works corporate, committed to the job, you can put family on the back burner, you need to come to grips with the consequences of that 20 years down the line. Don't expect the man to come knocking at your door at 40 and expect to just ride off in the sun and have this Disney fairy tale. I don't think that's always going to happen. Can it happen? Sure. So just be conscious of the decisions that you're making because those will affect your future. And between the traditional modern woman argument, I think there are women that can work, hold down a household, and still commit to their families. I've seen it done. They didn't have a lot of kids. Let me say that. They only had one child, but they worked that out and it was still the husband's plan, the husband's vision. So I think that still falls in line with a traditional household. And I don't know what the future holds for our Black community. Only God knows. I will stay prayerful because I have 2 young sons that we plan on them getting married and prayerfully marrying wonderful women. And that may be in the next 30 years, but hopefully the next 30 years, either Jesus is going to come back or we're in a better situation than we are today.
Oh,
So
give me a little longer than 30 years. I'm like DL. I'm somewhat of a heathen still. I ain't married. Shoot. Some time, Lord.
so yeah, so
Thank you, Bethany.
no problem.
Thank you for joining the conversation. I am the single one.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I love you guys. I love this channel. Shout out to Black Man Unfiltered and the Moz and everyone in the chat. I wanted to say that I love all women. And what I know and have learned about women is that we are dynamic and we are forever changing and evolving. And for some women, that could mean doing things differently than maybe, our mothers or grandmothers. And that's okay. And for some of us, the new information we receive as we're evolving and learning helps us do the same thing, just better. And that's okay too. And I would say to everyone, just not to get caught up in labels to where you are getting to know the individual before you. And I think all women have value. And I don't think that there's any part of the spectrum or any type or group of women that do not have value, especially if we pour into them. So that's my piece. Thank you so much. This was so fun. I love it here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks
And
for
we will
being
see you
here.
again. We will see you again sometime soon. So yeah.
I hope so.
All right. Thank you so much. I am the single one.
Hi everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. I definitely did. It felt really good to be back on BMU. I've been here in a while. I guess what I want to say is, I think the 2 biggest things are don't move in fear. Don't completely look past modern or traditional lifestyles simply because you are afraid of it. you have to understand the consequences of both and make an educated decision, and you need information to do that, and fear typically keeps you from wanting to learn more. Another thing I would say is, if you are on one side, if you have to convince the people around you to see the way that you do, in order for you to believe that you're moving in the right direction, like if you have to get people to believe in your delusion, it may not be the thing that you truly believe in. Like if you have to force everyone around you to think how you think, you may be convincing yourself that what you're doing is right for you, and it may not be. I would say in terms of the traditional and modern thing, it's almost impossible to be traditional today. I would just recommend people be flexible and understand that something's always got to give. So you can work, you can be a mom, you can be a wife all at the same time, but you have to kind of put everything into its own category and allot your energy and your time to those things appropriately, and understand that something always is going to fall. So if you put work first, you are neglecting your husband, you are neglecting your kids. If you put your kids first, your husband and your work is going, all the way down the line. So always remember just to be flexible and just consider the consequences in every decision that you make, and really think about what in your life you want to see bloom the most. And that's it. So my name is Chris. For those of you who don't know, I have a channel called The Blooming Ebony, and you can also follow me on Instagram at The Blooming Ebony. And I hope that you guys always stay in bloom. If you're not growing, you are dying. And I hope you have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's hard for me to say anything different than what's already been said. But I will say this, food for thought. Who are you? A lot of people walk around here and been living for years on this earth and still have no understanding of who they are. If you don't know who you are, you don't know what you want. You don't know what you want in life. You don't know where you're going in life. You don't really have a true perspective of what life is, or even what's going on for real in your life. If you don't have a definiteness of who you are, I mean, people can come along and influence you to do anything and to say anything, and they can just really, you don't really have true control over your life if you don't know who you are, because it starts there. Because then everybody else and what they say, your social influences, your inner circle, your family, your social media, all of them really run you. But when things come along like this, oh, am I a traditional woman? Am I a modern woman? How can you know if you don't know who you are and where you stand? What are your values? What are your morals? What are your principles? Why do you believe them? All these are questions that you need to know. If they don't have an answer, you got work to do.
Yeah.
So, a lot of women can't understand what where they are, if they are a traditional woman, if they're a modern woman, because they don't know who they are. I've been told who I am. And they're wrong. They're wrong. What I've come to
understand and keep on talking
is they're wrong. Nobody can tell me who I am. People say things all the time. I got posts and stuff like that on my YouTube page, which, by the way, follow is Shameria, YouTube SHUMERRIA. And if you look at some of the comments, just some of the things that said, and I'm just making funny videos. People have said some great things, but also some very nasty things. And it doesn't hurt me one bit, because I know who Shameria is. Nobody can tell me that, and nobody can make me feel bad about it. And when you know who you are and where you stand, nobody can make you feel bad about you and what you're doing and how you're doing it. So that's, those are my final thoughts, y'all.
And boom. And that's it. And that's all. And period.
Period.
Because
Thanks,
that's
Shushu.
it. Thank you so much, Shushu, for that. Because that's the real. If you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you're standing for, who are you as an individual? Um, um, okay, stay but that's it. So thank you, Shushu, for that. Coach K, give it to me. This was a good conversation. Shout out to all the
That's
ladies,
all.
the beautiful, wonderful women, the queens, who've joined this panel. We truly thank you all for participating, and salute to each and every one of y'all. Salute to everybody in the chat. Thank you all for your super chats. Thank you all for joining the conversation. Thank you all for asking the questions. Thank you all for all of that. We truly appreciate your participation over here at Black Men Unfiltered Network. This is Talk That Talk Tuesday, where the ladies speak. And so, yeah, support the platform, support these conversations. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful conversation. What you got, Coach K? What's your final thoughts?
That was good. I Everything that's been said, honestly, I think
Yeah.
labels are stupid, but yeah.
This is one
Yeah.
thing I wish we would have had. And not so much as I wish we would have had. I guess it's a conversation for another day. How do the younger generation feel in
Hmm.
regards to us having this conversation? Because tonight we were talking about traditional versus modern. That's one thing, but how younger females view the older generation of females, and I ain't gonna even get to talking about the older generation of females who think they still young and they do that kind of stuff. We ain't gonna talk about that. But I really wonder, from that perspective, how would this conversation would have changed?
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
We might have to set that
So
up.
that would definitely yeah, that would I see beautifully animated saying, yeah, this can definitely be continued, because I really would like to hear some younger women give their perspective, especially in regards to things that we say, like why, or having babies out of marriage or wedlock is now so much glorified. Why do social media matter so much? And
Right.
all those things, like where is that coming from, and how, I don't know how that feel, because some people tell me they'll tag me and stuff in Facebook and I won't see it till a week later. So if that's one of
I
y'all, if
know,
y'all
there'll
done
be
sent
that
me
shit.
an invite, ping me personally to say, hey Sylvia, accept my invite, because I'm sorry. I Queen Smiley, I will fail you on social media, because I
But no.
just saying,
Yeah, the same way. Sorry, not sorry about it. I just don't care.
But yeah, for me, my final thoughts, I think the terms traditional women, modern women, I think that's truly a poor concept. It tends to kind of give a binary division in regards to us as women, and it shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't even exist. So I don't truly understand, why we look at either one to be such an insult, when neither one of them really give a positive or negative, view. It's pretty much people putting that negative connotation on it. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. And then of course, in today's society, I think both men and women should have a little bit of both, some traditional ways and some modern ways, but again, know who you are. That's the basis of everything. Define yourself for yourself, and don't let nobody else do that for you, because all of us are looking for a partner who's pretty much happy in the role that they're in, who's happy in the relationship that they're in, where we can always be exciting to one another and keep things spicy, the way relationships should, and we always want that partner also to be intelligent, to be critical, in certain things, to tell us when we're kind of making a stupid decision, in a kind way, in loving way. So we're all looking for some of those same things. And then in
Hmm.
regards to traditional and modern women, we're all looking for the same thing. Some people put that modern women have that, oh, I don't need a man attitude. I don't need a man. Everybody needs somebody. Okay. Women need men. I don't care what come out their mouth. Okay. At the end of the day, we want to be loved. We want to feel affection. We want to, we want that. So in you wanting that,
Hmm.
guess what? That's a need that's a desire that you have deep down within you, regardless of how you want to portray it. Financially, oh, I don't need a man to be successful. That's one thing. Um, but yeah, you need somebody. Everybody needs somebody, because we got to procreate. We got to make kids. We got to continue our lifespan. We got to, and we need,
Hmm.
another being to do so, of the opposite
Hmm.
sex. So yeah.
Facts.
Um, but at the end of the day, we want our partner to have all those things, And we also have preferences that people, I guess that's where the submissiveness comes from, the preferences in which we want, a man want a woman to cook, clean, do the housework, and then a woman wanting a man to be strong and things like that, or look a certain way, or feel a certain way, or have a certain job, and all this other stuff. Those are preferences. Preferences are almost like feelings. They're relevant, but we also have to make sure that they're realistic also. So what you pour into life is what you get out. So basically you reap what you sow. You want a fruitful relationship with a life partner, guess what? Start doing fruitful shit. Okay? Because as long as you run around here trying to keep up with the Joneses and social media and all that other stuff, guess what? Boop! You'll end up in the dustosphere. Welcome to the dustosphere. Yeah, that's where you will find yourself by
Oh
yourself,
gosh.
and you will die alone.
That's
All of that good
funny.
stuff. So yeah, beautiful conversation. Those are my final thoughts. Y'all don't find yourself by yourself, okay? Do the work on you. Know who you are, what you will and won't stand for, okay? And if you meeting somebody and that just ain't it, and you're not honest enough with yourself to have that honest conversation, leave folk alone, stay by yourself, do your own thing. Shout out to the mods, shout out to Black Man Unfiltered Network, shout out to you, Coach K, for always being my partner in crime in these spaces.
Hey,
I
you did
appreciate you.
it.
I appreciate everybody.
Yes.
Love you lots. Okay.
Yep.
It's
Thanks,
been another
guys.
Talk That Talk Tuesday where the ladies have spoken.
We out.